HTML5 and CSS3 tutorials for beginners, document flow and box model. That's what we're going to cover in this video session. So we've got the section here, then we've got an article within it with color applied, and we've styled the section as well, so we've been working on that. But while here, let me remove the padding, and also actually let me remove padding left, but just use padding all around. For margin, let's do the same thing. Let's save this document and preview it. And this is the basic layout. So now let's do this. Let's create an aside, close it, and let's just put some dummy text. Let's style the aside to give it a background color. Let's enable it. Now, keep an eye out on this width for the section element itself and also the height. And let's see what's going on. Let's refresh. Now we've got our aside with background blue. Let's press on our F12 on our keyboard and hover around the section element itself. Now looking at this, we have, let's imagine the height of it is 400 pixels. But because we utilized paddings which make room within the element inside of it, that means in this example, the height will actually have additional 60 pixels calculated, because the padding for the top will be 30 pixels, so that's going to influence the height, and padding bottom will also have 30 pixels, that's also going to influence the height. That means it will add to the height. So therefore, if we look at the computed value, the section area, what's within it, is still 400 pixels. But because we utilized paddings, it stretched that box. Now, while here, let's also give border. Let's say 10 pixels for the border. Let's grab some hex color codes and let's make that dashed instead of solid, so that we can see. Let's semicolon close our declaration. Let's refresh this page. Now, as you can see, the entire section expanded. That's because paddings and borders add to its width and height according to the top, right, bottom or left declarations you've declared. So keep that in mind, because that's to do with the box model. So when you're positioning things, when you're giving width and height and then you end up seeing different values, that's because if you applied paddings or borders, that will be calculated with CSS engine. Okay. Furthermore, we need to then understand the document flow. Think of document flow as when you're styling certain elements, because we're using that box model, that's what CSS does. It uses that box model to find out, as in calculate, where in X and Y values of the screen, because it's all to do with pixels. Makes sense? So this entire screen uses pixels. Each pixel is calculated in a way that if you say the aside element should be rendered after this, in our example article element, so that means if I hover around, this is article. So how does the browser know where to place this aside element? It knows because it calculates that. And then at this pixel here, it says the flow seen a declaration called aside. So therefore start from that pixel. So therefore that's our box. Sense? That's our box from that pixel point. Now I know it can sound complicated when you're beginning to understand this, but I've just bombarded you with different level of understanding about how you're using the box model, because you will encounter this as you're designing web elements and web pages, I should say. And also all these are going to help us when we start positioning things. Understanding how browsers render your CSS, understanding how box model adds to our calculations of our width and height and all that stuff. And now the flow always goes, whatever it sees, it starts from that pixel, therefore it has to be always below the content above. That means if I simply copy and paste this aside element and give background color lime as an example, then when I refresh this page, additional aside will be placed here below the one above, because when browser sees that from that point, that is the flow the browser follows. Make sense? So it's always stacked on top of one another. Think of a flow of a document when CSS is working along those lines, because then you can say, okay, you know what, now I can position things, float them around, or even flex them using CSS3 selectors and declarations. And I'll talk with you in the next video session.